My girl Caesar was so real when she asked God to bless these 20 somethings because these 20 somethings really need to be blessed. Welcome to your 20s, where we discuss, laugh, cry, and walk through conversations regarding your 20s. We're all still trying to figure it out. Welcome to the squad. I am your host, Chloe the Creative. What's up, my 20 somethings? Thank you so much for joining me for yet another episode. I am so excited. I'm always excited for my episodes. But on today's episode, I'm going to be having a conversation with Nkateko. I am really excited because, first of all, I am in awe of your work. And it's just, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. We've never had this conversation before. Like, we've never spoken outside of work. And we've only worked once together. So, yeah. I'm a little nervous, but also I'm very excited. I'm just going to allow him to introduce himself. Welcome to these 20-somethings, Nkateko.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hi, Chloe. Thank you for having me. And hi to your listeners. Yes, my name is Nkateko Zembe Mondhlana. I am a photographer born in Soweto. I studied film and television at Wits, and I pursued photography because it has always been my first hand like calling before film, stuff like that. Although I do explore those things as well. And I freelance in the commercial space between Joburg and Cape Town. That's in a nutshell, that is who I am right now in this moment.
And he's so cool, guys. First time I met Zembe was for SA Fashion Week, and I had not met him face to face, but I had seen his work on Instagram. You have a friend, I think her name is Slingiwe, and for some odd
Yeah.
reason, Slingiwe would always pop up on my For You, and whenever Slingiwe posted something, like it was a story or whatever, you were there, and that's how I sort of like got introduced to you. And then we officially met when we went for when we were covering SA Fashion Week, which was such an exciting time. I was like, this guy. So the first time I met you guys was you and Namka. I was just like, oh, you're so cool.
Hello.
They are so cool, but I obviously had to keep my cool because I was running late. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited for today's episode. I just wanna, start off by, just breaking up the episode into an icebreaker, like just sort of cool and chilled. I just wanna, what is like the one word to best describe the stage or the era you are in right now in your 20s?
Yeah. So for me right now, one word would be seed time, right? Seed time from like a perspective of like planting and farming and, trying to build this tree. Because it's seed time because I graduated like 2 years ago, 2020, 2 years ago, 2022. And so everything for me has been fresh, like coming out of varsity, transitioning into being an adult, into like also crafting this career, forming this network. Like everything is like literally planting a seed like from nothing.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
looks like from like I know we spoke, before I recorded the episode, but from afar it really looks like you're doing. I mean, you are doing well, but it feels like you've been like in the industry because of, I don't know, like just because of the people that you've worked with. You've worked with like two of my favorite people. You've worked with Linati recently. You've also
Yes.
worked with Mpumi Nklapo, and I'm just like, you were
Yes.
doing great. So I am proud of you, and it's so like inspiring to see you, putting the work in, and it feels like you have been putting in the work. Does it feel like that for you?
Thank you, firstly. I am proud of you too. I mean, from when we met up until where you are now, it's amazing to see, right?
Oh,
And
thank you.
we're like of the same generation, so it's always good to see the youngings do it.
Mm,
Um, yes, I would say I have always put in the work in. I mean, during my vids days, I had already knew that I'm not, as soon as I graduate, I'm not gonna go apply for a job in a at a film company, right?
yeah.
So I was like, amongst my peers, I knew that well, my path might be different from everyone else. And so
Mm,
I just started putting the work in from there, even if it wasn't as serious as it is now. Like I wasn't necessarily like knocking on like commercial like entities, but it
mm,
was more on like a just me getting to know, trying to get to know myself as a photographer. And this was more on shooting, on like researching, just just starting the journey.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna come back. You said a lot. I'm gonna come back to all of that. I just wanna move over to the second icebreaker. Okay, so one thing you have right now with you or within you, right? It could be a physical thing or it could be like a thing that's like in your spirit that you see yourself carrying into other stages of your 20s.
Yeah, into like the later stages and into the 30s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Huh, interesting. I think I'm quite determined in a sense that like I think being a visionary, I think I don't
Mm,
do things just for the sake of doing them. I think everything I do is always like trying it's a step it's a stepping stone
yeah.
into something else. So and when I like reflect upon like my this young small endeavors, I mean accolades, career accolades, everything has been like what's the word? Everything has been a stepping stone that led to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like to keep that in my spirit moving forward.
I love that. Oh my, have you always have you always been this person? Like, have you always been a visionary? Because when you said that when you were at vet still studying, like you knew you could say, okay, I'm not gonna take the traditional path of you go to school, you graduate, you go submit your CV at like a TV, production. Um, have you always dating back to like your early childhood? Have you always been that type of person?
I think so. And like it's okay also to go the traditional way,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it was just being aware of like my part that like that's not gonna necessarily work for me. Vet for me was just me, it was a space for me to understand the narrative side of visual storytelling and like the theoretical part of it and all of that. And once I got that, I was like, cool, I'm gonna use this now for photography, you see.
Mm,
And so I think to answer your question, I would assume that I've always been that person because even in high school, towards the late years of high school, I was like a leader. And like, you know, when you're like a leader, like you, you lead people and like you need to
yeah.
have some sort of vision, even if it's in a small space like a high school, like you're
Mm,
not necessarily gonna do anything great like that. But like when you have that in yourself, you can like move with it and like inspire others, whether it's literal or like subconscious, but like it has to be embedded in you, I think, as a leader.
yeah. Okay. Then let's date it back to your childhood, right? Like, at what point growing up did you get the glimpse? 'Cause I was speaking to Linati about this as well, that I generally feel like everyone has like little notes that God has left on their path, right? So we all have
Yeah.
like these little notes that kind of affirm that you're on the right path, little notes that kind of tell you which direction to go, and those little notes give us a glimpse to who we are meant to become, right? So in with you growing up, like at what point do you recall getting the little note of saying that Nkateko, you're meant to be a creative, you're meant to go in this direction? How did
Yeah.
you know that, okay, this is what I've been called to do and I'm gonna answer the call?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite memories of, I guess, the South African industry as a teenager was Vuzu. Like
Mm-hmm.
Vuzu and like just like seeing like young black kids on screen, like speaking so eloquently, attending all these cool events.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
was watching that 14 years old in my mother's little home in Soweto, and I was like, I want to be in that space.
Yeah.
To a point where when I was 16, I attended there was a color run thing, like an event, and at the event I saw the V Entertainment crew, they were interviewing people. I forced myself to get an interview. Like I went to the content director and I was like, "Hi, I wanna be in this industry. I wanna do this. Just like give me an interview, bro. I'll answer whatever, you know."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Ah, this kid is so eager." But they gave me the platform and I was interviewed. I don't even know what I was asked, but for me, the interview airing on screen was such a moment for me. I mean, I'm 16. Like, this is out.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay, I was on TV and like, I never really wanted to be in front of the camera, but like just being a part of the crew, it felt like I'm a part of them. And so I
Yeah.
think from then onwards, I was like, okay, this would be the note from God that this is take this path because I was super like happy about that experience.
So from that point, you then like made a note. Okay, you received the note from God, and you kept it
Yes.
inside of you. Did that help with making a decision as to where you are going to go after you matriculate?
Yes, somewhat it did because at when I was 16 as well, I also realized that I like photography. I had like a small like Nokia phone and I would like take pictures of my friends and they were like archival moments of us which were uploaded on Facebook and like I mean these are not even like the greatest pictures ever, but like I
Mm,
think the idea of freezing a moment in time was what I appreciated at the time. And I was like, wow, what if I took this serious and started doing research? And I also enjoyed film. So I was like, maybe like study film, but like kind of link that to photography at some point. So yeah, it was more like research with blended with hobbies and interests.
what is your notes right now? Like, what note have you found? In terms of, because obviously, uh, Nkateko, high school Nkateko and these 20 somethings Nkateko, two different people.
Yeah, for
Obviously
sure.
they have like two different notes. Like, so if you don't mind sharing, like, what is the note that you have right now that kind of affirms that yes, this is your passion, you've studied, and it's kind of the note that you have now is saying to you, okay, yes, you're actually on the right path. Yes,
Yeah.
you are meant to be planting those seeds. Like, yeah, well, what's your note right now?
I mean, in brief, my note would is literally it's just starting with what I have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a typical example is last year for Black Friday. I mean, we all have like different things that we want to do at that time.
Yeah.
But for me, as opposed to like buying something cool, I bought a domain for my website, right? And ever since I got that domain, like I've been getting interesting experiences from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been so affirming for me because um I just like I tried to do it. With what I had, I was like, let me just do this. And then like things started coming after that. And so it's been like cool. So the note is start. I mean, so as a also like a boy that grew up in a Christian home and all of that, there's a
Mm.
scripture that says that you shouldn't despise the small beginnings, for the Lord loves to see the work starting.
Yeah, I love that scripture.
Yes. And so I resonate with it so much. Like, yeah, you must just like put the keys in there, bro, and put it in gear one and go.
I love that scripture. I think I've been like thinking about it the whole week. It's so crazy that you bring it up.
Yeah.
And you saying that you had to buy a domain for your website. I'm sure you wanted to buy other stuff that like
Of
are like more
course.
tangible and like
Of course.
more
It's
like
like, yeah, you're young, like you wanna buy the latest whatever that is cool to you. But I was like, bro, if you really want to pursue photography like that, and just not photography, just like being like an artist, like there
mm.
needs to be some sort of investment along the way.
How are you able to deal with making big sacrifices? Because I know it's you make it sound so easy, but I know like they obviously like different emotions that you go through when you have to like make huge decisions because you're looking to the bigger picture and you're just like at this point I can't do this, but I really want to do it, but I
Yeah.
can't. How do you deal with sacrifice, like making sacrifices for your future, and how easy does that come to you?
I honestly always stay inspired by the people that I look up to. And so, as much as it's a big decision, to me, it looks like it's kind of a glimpse of, I mean, I'm not gonna necessarily be like that person, but it's like, look at, okay, for example, when I look at one of my favorite photographers, like Eva, like Tyler Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at like what he did during his 20s, some of the decisions I make are inspired by his accolades,
Yeah.
literally before he turned 27 even. So it's not necessarily putting pressure on myself because me and him are two completely different people. The opportunities, the photographic opportunities available in SA versus in the US are different. So I'm not gonna expect to shoot Beyonce Nami at 23, right?
Yeah.
But it's more like kind of trying to find ways in which I can be inspired and like kind of move that route.
Yeah, I've heard a saying, and I might butcher the saying, but okay, I'm gonna summarize it. That
Yeah.
God meets us halfway, like He plays His part and we play our part. How have you, in now that like you are trying to build a future for yourself and you have the vision, right? And I truly believe that every vision that we have most of the time, like if it's something that's in your heart and it keeps you up at night, I truly believe like that's from God, right? So with the
Yes.
vision that I believe is from God in terms of your future, how do you find yourself in spaces that feed into that vision? Because I know it's not easy, especially because we're in Joburg and there are a lot of creators. How
Yeah.
how how do you find your own identity in that? And yeah, like how do you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually interesting that before we hopped on the call, I was speaking to my partner now, and he was just saying that there's a lot of creatives. Like we've been to these cool events over the past 2 weeks, and like there's a lot, right? And it's easy to kind of get probably demotivated or motivated. Like it could go
Mm,
either way. And I think for me, it's just really like you just know what you want to make, bro. And if you like keep to that, and not necessarily get, what's the word?
lost.
Yes, lost and intimidated.
Mm.
Yes, you get inspired by what your peers are doing. And I think when you know yourself and you blend that with inspiration, I think you'll always like remain who you really are and you'll get what's for you.
Do you still let me not say still, but do you at any point struggle with doubts? I know
Yeah.
your work is very beautiful, and it's very unique as well because of the types of photographies or jobs that you've taken up, right? I think they align very well the kind of photographer you are. So do you struggle with doubts and like looking at your work and just like, am I really good enough? Like, am
Yeah.
I, you know?
I do. I do. It happens a lot. Particularly because right now, like when you look at the visual like climax,
Yeah,
it's so vast now. Like there's different ways of telling one thing. And so when you're working on a personal project versus working on a client brief, like those are two different things. Client briefs are, bro, like you get this brief, you add your creative juice to it, and you go. Whereas a
yeah,
personal project is your literal, like, innate voice, you know?
mm,
And so when you work, I think I feel it the most when I'm working on like personal projects because it's like, what are you actually trying to do with this? Like, what are you trying to say? Which audience is going to appeal to? Is it going to take you anywhere? If it should, it shouldn't all the time. Sometimes you just make things for making them, you know.
yeah.
But I do struggle with doubt. It happens. It happens. Doubt, imposter syndrome, like when I think as humans, things we always pray for things, and then like when they come, you're like, am I,
Yeah.
should I do this? Am I the right person for it? It comes, but these are just like thoughts. They're not realities. As much as doubt is not a person that's gonna enter your room and try to attack you, bro, go.
Yeah. Okay, I could be wrong, but a lot of the times, like not a lot of the times, but I have seen like quite a few times that you have worked with friends, with your friends, right?
Yes.
And that's how number one I got to know of you through Ushenyiwe and her posting you on her Instagram, and then you worked with Linati. Linati's a friend, right?
Yes.
You guys
Did
outed.
that? Yes. Yeah, I would say now, friend, like was so cool, but it started off on a very serious work relationship.
What? Oh, wow, you guys have such a. It's so cool. I think you guys have such a cool relationship. I assume that you
Yeah.
guys hit it off as friends, and then you
What's
started
funny?
off.
Yeah, sorry to cut you. I've never met her.
I've also never met her.
That's you see, like this era, everything is so online based, which is fine, but also quite interesting because you meet these people, you get super close with them, but like never
Yeah,
get to touch them.
yeah. Okay, you've also worked with Namhla. Um,
Yeah.
we also worked with, I think Kanya, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you work a
yes.
lot with your friends. Do you think that has helped in affirming your journey and just affirming who you are as an artist? So has because these people are like people who know you are very like you get to be really vulnerable with them. So has that helped in any way in your creative journey?
I think one of the things I'll always be grateful for about going to VIDs is the spirit of collaboration because
Mm,
there you're in a class and you're tasked to make a film with people that are literally from different backgrounds, and you guys must gather and like blend your minds and work on this thing, make sure that it's dope, right?
yeah,
And so I think for me collaboration has then been somewhat easier to maneuver because of those experiences, whether it's from a friendship basis or it's people that I don't know, that I've never worked with before, that I meet online. Even like colleagues, like I'm able to collaborate with colleagues now outside of like work stuff, you know. And so, yes, I think to answer your question, friends have made me more like lean more into the thing because also as friends there is beyond like getting the job done, there's this like belief in your friend that like, okay, now I'm just trying to be a stylist, I can't like mess up, I need to make sure that I shoot this so well because I need to
yeah,
like put Namhla on the next level. The same way Namhla will be like, okay, Zembe's trying to be a photographer. I need to give him the best garments. So there's also that like underlying like belief and like just trying to push your friend beyond like just okay, we need to shoot this and wrap at 12 type thing.
I love that. Like you guys take your friend group is so beautiful, and I'm not just saying this because we are interviewing. Like, I would look at your, I'd look at your guys' Instagram and maybe like post it together, or you out somewhere, and I'm just like, this friend group is so beautiful. I think you guys. I think it helps that everyone has just genuine intentions. Um,
Yes.
how important is community for you, especially now that you're in your 20s?
Yeah. It's wow. It's literally for me the basis of all the young accolades I've collected to date, right?
Mm,
Um, I mean, like I think back to how Namhla and I got published on Color Blog is because we literally also met online. Also, us meeting online, it was because Namhla saw me through a friend thing where there was a lunch thing. Like you see, like it's all it's like this like spider web.
yeah.
And we started talking and we like just like connected and we collaborated on the project. We put the project out there. Linati saw the project from the other side of the country, literally Eastern Cape, bro. Like she didn't see it from Rosebank. Isn't that crazy? And then like from there she published it and there was that young community now, I now had gained a friend and a stylist. And yeah, like from there, Linati saw us again, gave us a project, did it within the community. Like it's everything that personally, what I've seen is that like everything that I need or that someone else needs is literally around you. And so
Yeah.
that's so beautiful.
And then how do you, okay, two principles that you don't compromise. Like if you want to be, if someone wants to be your friend, it's like these are the things that as a friend I just can't compromise on. Um, what are those two principles?
I don't do well with like people that look down on other people. It's vast, like whether it's from just condescending in general, because even in my community, it doesn't. I mean, it may look all glam at all, but it doesn't look like everyone has everything they need. Hence, we can help each other where we can, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna come in and try to act like like Zingawe, then leave. Mazibe ngawe on your own. So I think it's really, like condescending and like inauthenticity. Because like we're human and so everyone is gonna like come as they are and we're all gonna wanna laugh and like have a good time. But like if you're someone that's if you're around people that are also inauthentic to an extent, there's a bit of like toxicness that can happen in those things. And the toxicity can come with manipulation. So it's like, yeah, if we can't do it well, let's not do it at all.
Yeah. Okay. Let's speak about the art of failing forward.
Yeah.
This is for me. This is a topic that I don't like failing. I
Mm,
don't take
yeah.
well to failing, and it's.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that as I'm growing into, myself more, it's something that I'm trying to learn that what, failing is okay. Like failing is. I was listening to Nandi Umama Gashaga's interview,
Yes.
and she was just saying that, oh, but failing is just like, I don't call it failing, I call it school fees. Like you're learning. So I just want to like hear from you, like what is your take on the art of failing forward, and how do you deal with failing?
Yeah. Coming from varsity, I thought that like I'll introverts, bro. Like no one's gonna tell me anything. I have an honest degree. Like whatever I want, I'll get.
Mm-hmm.
Because I spent 4 years in school, I studied for this. And then like you realize that like that's not the reality of life. Um, you're gonna have to start somewhere. Can you believe that from like vet I went to a gear house and it's like, oh damn.
Yeah.
you know and it's I'm not saying that it's wrong to work in a gear house. It was the best experience ever, actually, because that's where I learned everything I know now. But it's like, when you're a student looking into the outside world, you think that like, from vet I'm gonna shoot Adidas campaign and like I'll be like traveling the world and doing all these things. But I think for me, I appreciate failing because it shows, for me, it links to authenticity. Like, you
Mm,
fail and you see things as like what they are and what you should learn, what you should do and what you should not do. Yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so funny that you say that because I always thought it's funny that you say that when you were at a bit, you're like, okay, I'm gonna graduate and then go and like work. I'm not gonna. I don't think you had that like, oh, you're gonna go and work at a Kia house, even though that is
yeah,
the experience God knew that you needed. But it's so funny
yeah,
that you say that because I didn't think. I always thought people who say like who have that type of thinking are people from after, and that's because I was exposed to them every day. Like people from,
yes,
if I were to compare people from after and Vids, I felt like Vids was more of community based. You lean more on each other, and at Vids like there's all sorts of people from different walks of life, and you guys all come together and collaborate, and it doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have. And yeah, and after, it was, for me, my experience with after was totally different because you work with people who are like so mean and like condescending, and like they feel like, oh, I've got you know like the
yeah,
world in my hands, and like you can't tell me anything. From here I'm definitely gonna be a director. And
yeah,
it's so wild to be exposed to creatives who are not humble. It's
yes.
crazy. It's crazy because they,
Like,
yeah. So I didn't think um I don't know. I don't know. I just thought like everyone from vid and after, people are
yeah,
like, yeah, totally different.
yeah,
But again, it goes to show that we are humans at the end of the day. We do have big dreams for ourselves, and there is nothing wrong with starting small. But I think that's the
yeah,
thing, like, especially because we in a generation of social media, we think that you plant the seed today, and tomorrow you're gonna get the tree and you're gonna eat the fruit.
yes,
And it really is a struggle, not a struggle, but like um it is a difficult thing to kind of process if you sit down with yourself and you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna get to where I wanna be tomorrow. It's gonna take time. I'm gonna have to work in places where I've never, imagined myself working. But it's okay if I have the vision in mind.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
So
Yeah,
I really love that. So
yeah,
I just wanna, speak about your how are you able to like where do you how are you able to still like pursue these people that you want to work with? Like, do you do that? Like, do you go to people and be like, hey, this is my work and I would like to work with you? Or does work find you?
yeah. I mean, with like freelancing as a in the commercial space, as a photographer's assistant, because since graduating I've been like assisting different photographers like in the country. I've always tailored those experiences towards photographers that actually really inspire me,
Mm,
because they're, as much as we're at work, I'm assisting them, setting lights and all of that. For me, it's, I want to see the humanness in them. I want to see how they work. How do they shoot? Just like, because then it's like, okay, cool. Remember my point earlier about like getting inspired as opposed to getting like intimidated.
yeah.
So yeah, I've always like approached like agencies, and I've been fortunate enough that like they approve and I work with their people. And yeah, it's like you learn so much. You learn about technical, you learn And people are different. Some photographers are really great with technical, some are great with like composition, some are great with post production, some are just like fun to work with, that
Mm-hmm.
like even if it's a stressful job, you guys are laughing the whole day. Yeah, so yes, I have approached and then I've been approved. Once again, starting and just like, hey Baba, I need this. Are you gonna give it to me or not? Yeah.
Yeah. How do you want to make your mark? Like in the work that you do, how do you wanna make your mark?
Um, so I'm just gonna like tell you a bit about Tyler. That when I was in high school, I watched one of his interviews and he was speaking about no. I'm like not high school. Before we shot Color Block, Nikiwa's
Mm-hmm.
cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I was shooting on film for the first time. It's a cover story. It's international. Everything was like, ugh. It was like, okay, bro, you're 22. Do you even know what you're doing here? Um, and I watched Tyler's masterclass 2 days before the shoot, and in the masterclass was speaking about how, as a photographer, you don't always need to have the best equipment in the world to shoot like something amazing. It's all about your perspective and how you see something to be done, right? According
Yeah.
to your understanding. And that links to just being a creator. When you create something, you do it from nothing, and it's the way I would build a sandcastle versus you. We're not going to make the same thing because we're
Yeah.
two different creators. And so the mark that I would like to leave or inspire is to use what you have. It's you'll never go wrong. That's literally the greatest superpower you can ever have. To use
Mm.
what you have and to like just do it with the resources that are around you. Those things are the things that are going to take you to the next step, as opposed to sitting behind and like crying all day about how no one's calling you, everyone is on set shooting the coolest campaigns, and you're at home. But like, if you're not gonna connect your laptop to your hotspot during load shedding to email the specific agency, do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you just need to use your resources, the ones that you have in that particular moment, and those resources will lead you to the next step.
Mm.
That's literally where how I got to where I am now. And I mean, I have more like goals, but
Mm.
to just be grateful of how far I've come, it's always been about like, okay, I'm gonna do like with the okay, I'm rambling a bit, but with the color block issue, I literally borrowed a camera from a friend of mine that was at Viz doing his masters. So, like you see, and the team at Color Block doesn't know stuff like that, and no one knows that.
Yeah.
But I just used what I had access to in order to, and I believe that what I have access to is gonna make like a best, like the greatest outcome.
Yeah. I feel like what you're saying just it ties back to what you were saying about your notes, what you have right now, your little notes of just just use what you have, like just start.
Yeah.
Like I think on its own that is a note. And I hope one of my listeners, or two of my listeners, or everyone
Yeah.
who's listening takes it
Yes.
in and they recognize that sometimes even the notes that God leaves comes in form of people, telling their stories,
Yes.
and that's just taking what we resonate with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're about to close. I just want you to share with us top three of your favorite songs right now on your playlist. What are you listening to?
Oh Lord. Um, my first favorite is "Love Will Lead You There" by Cleo Soul. Actually, like her newest project. Like God,
Mm-hmm.
let's just come to SA. Anyway, if you ever see her that side, bro, please like snap everything.
I will. For
Yes,
you,
so
I will definitely.
yes, thank you. So yes, it's Love Will Lead You There by Clear Soul, the first one. The second one would be Get Free by Miriba. And the third one, I'm trying to do this without opening my Spotify also. I'll be cheating. But the third one would be Ngelosi by Zoe Muricha.
Oh yeah, actually her whole album.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Zoe's album just reminds me of how important it is for us to stay the course and just stay and answer our call, because
Yeah.
I think I always say this, that like your call is connected to someone else's call, and if you are disconnected from your call, you're messing up everything. I know it
Yeah.
sounds like, oh my gosh, what, but like we're all so intertwined that like if you say yes to the thing that God has called you to, that will allow me to also step into my power, because your work might save me. Like it might push me and it might inspire me to be, to do the one thing that God has also called me to. So I think my words to you just in closing is that may you stay the course. May you always answer to whatever call that God has for you. And your work is very beautiful, Zende. I genuinely love your work.
Thank you.
The exhibitions you and Namtla have put together have been incredible. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. Actually, you guys did, inspire me. Maybe I will do it. I think after this conversation, I will,
Yes.
act on the idea. But after I saw your exhibition with Namtla, I think it was called "To the Boys I Love."
Oh, it's the voice of scene.
The way that it was so beautiful. I was just like, I want to do this, Nami, and I'm gonna do it like, I'm gonna do it through fashion, because I love clothes. So I'm gonna tell my story through fashion, and it's funny because when I was reading your CV, it said that you're from Soweto, and I'm just like, how? It doesn't even say anything, because I'm also from Soweto.
Oh, really? Where in Soweto?
I am so my dad is from Eshawela, and then and then my mom is from Enaledi. So during the week I would be Enaledi, and then weekends is Eshawela.
Wow, I live in Shawela. That's crazy.
Where?
So extension 3, the one by the police station, Protea police station.
That's so crazy. Mina ngihlala ngase Gardens.
Oh, wow. So, like, crazy. We should get ice cream
The world is so small. But back to what I was saying, that like, so when I saw your exhibition, I was like, oh, I want to do that, but I'm going to do it through fashion, and it has to be showcased through Soweto. So I was gonna like get specific locations, and then we were gonna do it. I don't know why I let it go, but now that we've spoken, I might revisit it.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chloe. Thank you for having me. I am also super proud of you. I said this week before the call. And like the last time I saw you were in Rosebank. Next thing, you're at the airport. Like, what? Crazy. But we love to see people starting and going after what they actually want,
Thank you so much. I know it was so difficult. It's not difficult, but like it was a bit of a, schedules they had to align, and I'm so glad that they did align. Thank you for your time.
Yes, me too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Please have an amazing Sunday tomorrow, and to your listeners as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, guys. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.